Nobody looked at Rillian twice unless they wanted to hurt her. She guided her hoverchair through the crowded market of Relay Station Omega 7, keeping her head down. Her iridescent blue skin caught the harsh station lights, marking her as Valori. Her two paralyzed lower arms, hanging limp against her sides, marked her as broken. The market was loud and busy. Traders shouted prices. Travelers pushed past each other. A dozen different species moved through the narrow corridors, buying and selling and arguing. Rillian tried to make herself small, which was difficult when you needed a floating chair to move. She had arrived 6 hours ago with one goal: find transport to the Vealoris medical station. Doctors there might help her condition. They might give her back some use of her damaged limbs. It was a small hope, but it was all she had to so far. 3 ship captains had refused her. The first one laughed. The second one said cargo space was too valuable for passengers who could not work. The third one simply walked away when he saw her chair. Rillian was not surprised. This was how the galaxy worked. The weak were ignored. The broken were discarded. Her own family had taught her that lesson when they left her at a transit station 8 years ago. She was 15 then. They told her she was a burden they could no longer carry. She had survived alone ever since that a food vendor sold cheap protein strips nearby. Rillian counted her credits. She had saved for 3 years to afford passage to the medical station. She could spare a few for food. She had not eaten since yesterday. As she paid the vendor, she felt eyes on her back. She turned slightly. Across the market, 4 figures watched her. They were Kreth, an insectoid species known throughout the galaxy for violence and cruelty. Their black shells gleamed under the lights. Their mandibles clicked in what might have been conversation. Rillian's stomach dropped. Kreth were raiders and slavers. They targeted the vulnerable. A disabled alien traveling alone was exactly the kind of prey they hunted. She needed to leave. Now, Rillian guided her chair toward the main corridor, trying to look calm. Maybe they were not watching her. Maybe she was being paranoid. She glanced back. They were following. Her heart pounded. The hoverchair could move quickly, but not quickly enough to outrun Kreth. Their legs were built for speed. She needed to find help. Security. A crowd. Somewhere safe. But safety did not exist for creatures like her. She turned down a side corridor, hoping to lose them. The passage grew darker. Fewer people walked here. She realized her mistake too late. She was heading toward the lower docking bays, an area that emptied during night cycle. The station lights dimmed. Night cycle was beginning. Rillian pushed her chair faster. Her working arms ached from gripping the controls. Behind her, she heard the clicking of Kreth legs on metal floor. The corridor ended at a cargo bay. Empty. No ships. No people. No escape. She turned her chair around. The 4 Kreth blocked the only exit. Their leader stepped forward. He was larger than the others, his shell scarred from old fights. His eyes reflected the dim light like black mirrors. "Little broken thing," he said. His voice was a wet rasp. "Why do you run? We only want to talk." Rillian's finger found the emergency beacon on her chair's control panel. She pressed it. The leader moved fast. His bladed arm swept down and smashed the panel. Sparks flew. The beacon died before it could send a signal. "No help is coming," he said. "No one cares about broken things." The other Kreth spread out, surrounding her. One of them grabbed her travel bag and dumped its contents on the floor. Her medical records. Her credits. Her grandmother's pendant. The only thing she had left of her family. "Please," Rillian whispered. "Take the credits. Take everything. Just let me go." The leader picked up the pendant. He examined it, then tossed it aside like garbage. "Credits are good, but you might be worth more. Labor markets always need workers. Even broken ones can serve some purpose." "I cannot work," Rillian said. "My arms. There are other uses for your kind." His mandibles clicked in what might have been a laugh. Rillian lunged for the pendant. Her grandmother had given it to her before she died. It was the only proof that someone had once loved her. The leader struck her across the face. The blow knocked her from her chair. She hit the floor hard, unable to catch herself with her paralyzed arms. Pain exploded through her ribs. Blood filled her mouth. She lay on the cold metal, looking up at the Kreth standing over her. Her vision blurred. Her body would not move. "Weak," the leader said. "Your whole species is weak. But you are the weakest of all." Rillian closed her eyes. She thought of her grandmother. She thought of the medical station she would never reach. She thought of all the years she had fought to survive, and how it would end here, in a dark corridor, with no one knowing or caring. She whispered a prayer to gods she did not believe in. Then she heard something. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Coming closer, and voices. Human voices. The Kreth leader froze. His head turned toward the corridor entrance. "What is this?" he hissed. Rillian opened her eyes. Through her tears and blood, she saw 4 figures appear in the doorway. They wore dark uniforms. They carried weapons, and they were looking directly at her. She had heard stories about humans, a young species, new to the galaxy, considered soft by most. But the way they stood, the way they looked at the Kreth, did not seem soft at all. For humans stood in the doorway like they owned the corridor. The Kreth leader, Grath, studied them with cold eyes. Humans were new to galactic space. They had only been traveling between stars for a few decades. Most species considered them children playing in an adult universe. Soft, emotional, weak. But something about the way these 4 held themselves made Grath hesitate. The human in front was a female with dark hair pulled back tight. She wore a military uniform with symbols Grath did not recognize. Her hand rested on the weapon at her hip, relaxed but ready. Behind her stood 3 others. A large male with kind eyes and a medical bag over his shoulder. A younger female with quick, nervous energy. A quiet male with equipment strapped to his vest. "Step away from the civilian," the lead human said. Her voice was calm, not loud, not angry, just certain. Grath clicked his mandibles in amusement. "This is not your concern, human. This creature belongs to us now. She does not belong to anyone." The human took 1 step forward. "Just one. I will not ask again." Grath looked at his 3 soldiers. They were armed. They were trained. They had killed before. These humans carried weapons. Yes, but they were soft. Everyone knew humans were soft. "You are far from home," Grath said. "And you are outnumbered in a place where no one will help you. Walk away. Forget what you saw. This is how the galaxy works." The human female tilted her head slightly. "My name is Sergeant Anya Reyes, United Earth Peacekeeping Forces. And I am telling you one more time to step away from that wounded civilian." On the floor, Rillian watched through blurred vision. Blood dripped from her split lip. Her ribs screamed with every breath. She did not understand what was happening. Why would humans interfere? She was nobody. She was nothing. She could not pay them. She could not help them. There was no reason for them to care. Grath made his decision. He flicked one bladed arm, signaling his soldiers. They surged forward, weapons raised. Expecting the humans to scatter like prey, the humans did not scatter. The fight lasted 11 seconds. The youngest human, the female with quick energy, moved first. She ducked under a Kreth blade and drove her fist into the joint between shell plates. The soldier screamed and dropped his weapon. She caught the weapon before it hit the ground and threw it aside. The large human with the medical bag did not look like a fighter. But he grabbed the second Kreth soldier and threw him into the wall with a strength that should not have existed in such a soft-looking species. The soldier crumpled and did not rise. The quiet human did not fight at all. He simply raised his weapon and covered the corridor, making sure no one else came to help. His eyes never stopped moving. He saw everything. Grath lunged at Sergeant Reyes. His blade aimed at her throat. She sidestepped. Her hand caught his arm and twisted. Something cracked. Grath shrieked. Her other hand came up, palm open, and struck him in the center of his chest. He flew backward and crashed to the floor. The 4th Kreth soldier, seeing his leader broken on the ground, turned and ran. The young female human started to chase, but Reyes held up one hand. "Let him go." Grath crawled toward the corridor entrance, dragging his broken arm. His soldiers gathered around him, helping him rise. His black eyes burned with hatred. "This is not over," he hissed. "You have made enemies today, humans." Reyes watched him without expression. "You attacked a defenseless civilian. You made yourself our enemy first. Now leave before I change my mind about letting you walk away." The Kreth retreated into the darkness. Their clicking footsteps faded. Silence filled the cargo bay. Rillian lay on the cold floor, too shocked to move. She had watched species fight before. She had seen violence in her years of traveling alone. But she had never seen anything like this. 4 humans against 4 Kreth, and the fight was over before she could count to 15. The large human knelt beside her. Up close, she could see his face more clearly. Brown skin, warm eyes, a gentle smile that seemed wrong on someone who had just thrown a Kreth soldier into a wall. "Hello there, he said softly. My name is Ben. I am a medic. I am going to help you, okay? Can you tell me where it hurts? Rillian flinched away from his hand. Her whole body trembled. This was a trick. It had to be a trick. No one helped without wanting something. That was the first rule of survival. Please, she whispered. Just take what you want. I have nothing left. The Kreth took my credits. I cannot pay you. Ben's smile faded. Something sad passed through his eyes. He looked back at Sergeant Reyes, who had approached and now stood over them. We do not want payment, Reyes said. She bent down and picked something up from the scattered belongings on the floor. The pendant. Rillian's grandmother's pendant. Reyes held it carefully, like it was precious, and offered it to Rillian. We are not here to take from you. Rillian stared at the pendant, then at the human holding it. Her mind could not process what was happening. I do not understand, she said. Why did you help me? Reyes placed the pendant gently in Rillian's working hand. Her voice was quiet but firm. Because you needed help. That is reason enough. The young female human had retrieved Rillian's hoverchair. The quiet male was examining the smashed control panel, tools already in his hands. Ben opened his medical bag. May I check your injuries? I promise I will be gentle. I will not touch you without permission. Permission? He was asking permission. As if she had the right to say no. As if her consent mattered. Rillian looked at these strange humans from a distant world. She did not understand them. She did not trust them. Everything she knew about the galaxy told her this was wrong. That kindness always had a price. But she was bleeding. She was hurt. And for the first time in 8 years, someone was offering help without demanding something in return. Slowly, hesitantly, she nodded. Rillian had never been touched with such gentleness. Ben cleaned the blood from her face with soft cloth and warm water. His movements were slow and careful. Every time he needed to touch a new area, he told her first. Every time she flinched, he paused and waited for her to relax. The other humans had moved her to a small maintenance alcove away from the cargo bay. It was warmer here. Safer. The young female, who introduced herself as Delia, stood guard at the entrance. The quiet male, Yusuf, worked on repairing her hoverchair's control panel. Sergeant Reyes sat on a storage crate nearby, watching everything with calm eyes. Your ribs are bruised, but not broken, Ben said. The cut on your lip will heal quickly. You will be sore for a few days, but there is no serious damage. Rillian nodded slowly. She still did not understand what was happening. These humans had saved her, treated her wounds, and now they were fixing her chair. They had asked for nothing. What? The word came out before she could stop it. Ben paused his work. Why what? Why are you helping me? Rillian's voice cracked. I am Valori. My own species considers me worthless. I was born wrong. My lower arms stopped working when I was young. My legs are weak. I need a machine to move. I cannot work. I cannot fight. I cannot even run away when danger comes. She gestured at herself with her working hands. Look at me. I am broken. Why would you waste your time on something broken? The alcove went quiet. Delia turned from her guard position. Her young face showed something Rillian could not identify. Anger? No. Something else. You are not broken, Delia said. I am. Rillian had accepted this truth years ago. The galaxy has rules. The strong survive. The weak are left behind. This is how things work. This is how they have always worked. Reyes stood up from her crate. She walked over and crouched beside Rillian, meeting her eyes directly. Those are the galaxy's rules, Reyes said. They are not our rules. Rillian blinked. I do not understand. Ben put away his medical supplies. He sat back on his heels, his large frame somehow looking smaller, gentler. On Earth, he said, on our homeworld, we have a long history. Much of it is ugly. Humans have done terrible things to each other. We have fought wars. We have hurt the weak. We have made every mistake you can imagine. He paused. But we learned. Slowly, painfully, we learned. We built laws that protect those who cannot protect themselves. We built systems that care for the sick and the old and the injured. We decided that a person's value does not come from what they can produce or how well they can fight. That makes no sense, Rillian said. A society that protects its weak members wastes resources. It becomes slow. Other species would destroy you. Delia laughed. It was not a cruel laugh. It was almost fond. People keep saying that, she said. And yet here we are. Yusuf looked up from the hoverchair. He had not spoken much since they arrived, but now his quiet voice filled the alcove. Humanity reached the stars 60 years ago. In that time, we have never lost a war. We have never been conquered. We have never been destroyed. He returned to his work. Protecting the vulnerable does not make us weak. It makes us strong in ways other species do not understand. Rillian tried to process this. It went against everything she knew, everything she had experienced. My family left me at a transit station when I was 15, she said quietly. They said I was too heavy a burden to carry. They said I would slow them down. They said no one would ever want me. She touched her paralyzed lower arms. They were right. For 8 years, no one has wanted me. No one has helped me. Until tonight. Reyes reached out and placed her hand over Rillian's. The touch was warm. Your family was wrong, Reyes said. And so is any species that measures a person's worth by what they can lift or how fast they can run. You survived 8 years alone in a galaxy that wanted you dead. That takes strength. That takes courage. That takes something most people never have to develop because life was easy for them. Rillian felt something hot on her cheeks. Tears. She had not cried in years. I did not survive because I was strong, she said. I survived because I had no other choice. Ben smiled gently. That is exactly what strength is. A soft beep came from the hover chair. Yusuf leaned back and nodded. Fixed, he said. Basic functions are restored. You can move again. Rillian wiped her eyes with her working hands. She guided the chair toward her, still feeling the ache in her ribs. It responded smoothly. Yusuf had done good work. Thank you, she said. The words felt strange in her mouth. She had not thanked anyone in a long time. All of you. Thank you. Delia helped her back into the chair. For a moment, Rillian sat in silence, looking at these 4 strange humans. What happens now, she asked. The Kreth will come back. They will bring more soldiers. They do not forgive insults. Reyes nodded. She is right. Grath will not let this go. The station is not safe for her anymore. I have nowhere else to go, Rillian said. I was trying to reach the Veilor's medical station. Doctors there might help my condition. But no ship will take me. And now the Kreth will be hunting me. The 4 humans looked at each other. Something passed between them. An unspoken conversation. Reyes turned back to Rillian. Her face was serious but kind. Our ship is docked at Base 7. We are heading toward the Siltar region. The medical station is on our route. She paused. You are coming with us. Rillian stared at her. You cannot be serious. I am always serious. But your superiors. Your mission. I am an alien. I am disabled. I will slow you down. Reyes smiled. It was a small smile, but it changed her whole face. Let us worry about that, she said. Right now, we need to get you somewhere safe. You can argue with me about the details once we are off this station. She offered her hand. Rillian looked at it for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached out and took it. The UES Steadfast was smaller than Rillian expected. Human ships were not elegant. They did not have the sweeping curves of Valori vessels or the brutal angles of Kreth raiders. The Steadfast looked practical, boxy, built for function rather than beauty. Rillian guided her hover chair through the narrow corridors, following Sergeant Reyes toward the command deck. The ship hummed around her with a steady rhythm. It felt alive in a way stations never did. A woman in a captain's uniform waited outside the bridge. She was older than Reyes, with gray in her hair and lines around her eyes. She studied Rillian with a look that was not hostile but not welcoming either. Sergeant, the woman said, you want to explain why we have a civilian on my ship? Captain Lindgren, Reyes began. This is Rillian. She was attacked by Kreth mercenaries on the station. They will return with reinforcements. Leaving her behind is a death sentence. Lindgren looked at Rillian, then at the hover chair, then at the paralyzed arms hanging at her sides. This is outside our mission parameters. Yes, ma'am. There will be paperwork. Yes, ma'am. Lindgren sighed. It was the sigh of someone who had worked with Reyes for a long time. Fine. Get her settled in guest quarters. But she stays out of restricted areas. The captain paused. And someone needs to file a report about the Kreth incident. I want documentation. Thank you, Captain, Reyes said. Lindgren waved her hand dismissively and walked onto the bridge. The door slid shut behind her. Rillian released a breath she did not know she was holding. She does not want me here. She does not want paperwork, Reyes said. But she is fair. You will be safe on this ship. Guest quarters turned out to be a small room with a narrow bed, a desk, and a tiny bathroom. It was simple, clean. After years of sleeping in cargo holds and abandoned corridors, it felt like luxury. Delia appeared at the door with blankets. Human ships get cold. These should help. Rillian took them, unsure what to say. Thank you. No problem. Dinner is in 2 hours. Mess hall is down the corridor, third door on the left. Ben is a terrible cook, but the food is warm. Delia grinned and disappeared. Over the next 3 days, Rillian learned many things about humans. She learned that they ate together. Every meal, the crew gathered in the mess hall, sharing food and conversation. At first, Rillian stayed in her quarters. She did not want to impose. She did not want to see the annoyance on their faces when they had to make room for her chair, but Ben came to find her. "You should eat with us," he said. "There is space at our table. I do not want to be a burden." Ben's gentle face turned stern. "You keep using that word. Stop it. Come eat." He did not give her a choice. The mess hall was crowded, but the crew made room without complaint. Some of them glanced at her chair, at her paralyzed arms, but no one stared. No one whispered. A young engineer with thick glasses asked her about Valori culture. An older technician with a metal leg brace shared stories about his home colony. Rillian noticed things. She noticed how the crew helped each other casually, without being asked. Someone reached past to grab a condiment for a crewmate. Someone else traded shifts so a friend could rest. It was small, constant, natural. She noticed that several crew members had visible disabilities. The engineer with glasses could not see without them. The technician with the leg brace walked with a limp. A communications officer on the bridge was deaf in one ear and used a small device to hear properly. No one treated them differently. No one considered them burdens. On the second day, Yusuf asked if she wanted to help with data analysis. "I saw your records," he said. "You have training in communication systems. We are short-staffed, and I could use someone who knows signal processing." Rillian stared at him. "You want me to work? Only if you want to. No pressure. But if you are bored, the offer stands." She accepted. For the first time in years, someone wanted her skills. Not despite her disability. Not in spite of her limitations. Just because she had something to offer. Working alongside Yusuf, she felt useful. She felt real. On the third day, Ben found her in the observation deck, watching the stars stream past. "How are you feeling?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Confused," she admitted. "Your species makes no sense to me." Ben laughed. "We get that a lot. What specifically confuses you?" Rillian thought carefully. "The galaxy runs on strength. The strong take what they want. The weak give what they must. It has been this way for thousands of years. Every species I have met follows these rules." She turned to look at him. "But you do not. You protect your weak instead of discarding them. You help strangers who cannot repay you. You treat someone like me as if I matter." "What?" Ben was quiet for a moment. "Because we remember," he said finally. "Humans have a long memory. We remember what it was like to be helpless. We remember what it was like when no one protected us. We remember the price of cruelty." He met her eyes. "And we decided we did not want to be the species that made others feel the way we once felt." Rillian considered this. "That sounds inefficient." "Maybe, but it is who we are." Ben smiled. "Besides, you just spent 2 days helping Yusuf solve a signal interference problem that had been bothering him for weeks. Seems pretty efficient to me." Before Rillian could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. Red lights flashed. The captain's voice came over the intercom. "All hands to battle stations. We have Kreth raiders inbound. 3 ships. They are demanding we surrender our passenger." Rillian's blood went cold. Grath had found her. 3 Kreth raider ships hung in the void like black insects waiting to strike. Rillian watched them through the observation deck window, her heart pounding. The Steadfast had dropped out of hyperspace near the Vealoris medical station. They were so close. She could see the station in the distance, a glittering structure of hope she had dreamed about for years. But the Kreth had arrived first. Grath's voice crackled over the ship's communication system. "Human vessel, you have something that belongs to us. Return the cripple, and we will let you leave. This is your only warning." Captain Lindgren's response was calm and cold. "This is Captain Nora Lindgren of the UES Steadfast. The individual you are referring to is a civilian under our protection. She belongs to no one. Stand down or face consequences." Grath laughed. The sound was wet and ugly. "You are 1 ship. We are 3. Your species is young and soft. You do not have the stomach for real combat. Give us the broken one, and we will make your deaths quick." The communication cut off. Rillian turned her hover chair and moved toward the door. She needed to find Captain Lindgren. She needed to surrender herself. These humans had done so much for her. They had shown her kindness she did not deserve. She could not let them die for her. Sergeant Reyes blocked the doorway. "Where are you going?" Reyes asked. "To surrender. The Kreth want me. If I give myself up, they will let you live." "No, you do not understand. I am not worth dying for. I am broken. I am nothing. You cannot sacrifice your crew for someone like me." Reyes stepped forward and placed her hands on Rillian's shoulders. Her grip was firm but not harsh. "Listen to me," Reyes said. "We do not abandon people. Not ever. Not for any reason. You are on this ship, which means you are under our protection. And we protect our own. But the Kreth have 3 ships. Then we will fight 3 ships." Rillian's eyes filled with tears. "Why? I do not understand. Why do you care so much about someone you barely know?" Reyes smiled gently. "Because if we only protected people we knew, we would not be worth much as protectors. Now come on. We need to get to the bridge." The bridge was controlled chaos. Crew members rushed between stations, calling out numbers and coordinates. Captain Lindgren stood at the center, issuing orders with sharp precision. "Shields at maximum. Weapons hot. Helm, I want evasive pattern delta on my mark." Reyes led Rillian to a station near Yusuf. "Stay here. Monitor their communications. If you see anything useful, tell us." Rillian nodded, her hands trembling as she activated the console. She might be broken, but she was not useless. She could do this. She could help. The Kreth attacked. Energy weapons lit up the darkness of space. The Steadfast shuddered as the first shots hit its shields. Warning alarms blared. The ship rolled and dove, dodging the worst of the assault. "Return fire," Lindgren ordered. "Focus on the lead ship. I want their weapons disabled." The Steadfast was smaller than the Kreth raiders, but human ships were built differently. Where Kreth vessels were fast and fragile, human ships were tough and stubborn. The Steadfast absorbed punishment that would have destroyed other vessels and kept fighting. Rillian watched the battle unfold while scanning Kreth communications. Their signals were encrypted, but she had studied similar systems during her years alone. She had learned to crack codes to survive. Her fingers moved across the console. The encryption began to unravel. "I have something," she called out. "The Kreth are coordinating their attack patterns through the lead ship. If you disrupt their command signal, the other 2 ships will lose coordination." Yusuf leaned over to look at her screen. His eyes widened. "She is right. I can see the frequency. We can jam it." Lindgren did not hesitate. "Do it." Yusuf and Rillian worked together, their hands flying across their consoles. Within seconds, they had identified the command frequency and sent a jamming signal. The effect was immediate. The 2 support raiders began firing wildly, their attacks no longer coordinated. One of them nearly hit the other. The formation broke apart. "Now," Lindgren said, "all power to forward weapons. Target the lead ship." The Steadfast fired. Human weapons were not elegant. They were brutal, heavy, designed to break things. The lead raider's shields collapsed under the assault. Its engines flickered and died. The ship began to drift, crippled and helpless. The Grath's voice screamed over the communication channel. "This is not over. The galaxy will know what you did here. You cannot protect that broken thing forever." The 2 remaining raiders turned and fled, leaving their leader's damaged ship behind. Silence fell over the bridge. Then someone laughed. Then someone else cheered. Within moments, the entire crew was celebrating. Rillian sat at her station, staring at the screen, unable to process what had happened. They had won. The Kreth were gone. She was safe. Ben appeared beside her, grinning broadly. "Nice work with those signals. You might have just saved the ship." "I did not do much," Rillian said quietly. "You did enough." Ben patted her shoulder. "That is what counts." Captain Lindgren approached. Her stern face had softened slightly. "The civilian has proven useful," she said to Reyes. Perhaps bringing her aboard was not such a terrible idea after all. She looked at Rillian. "The medical station has granted us docking permission. You will be able to receive your treatment." Rillian felt her chest tighten. After everything, after all the years of hoping and dreaming, she was finally here. "Thank you, Captain," she managed to say. "Thank you for not giving up on me." Lindgren nodded once. "That is not something this crew does." She turned and walked back to her command position, already issuing orders for docking procedures. Rillian looked out the main viewport at the medical station growing larger. For the first time in 8 years, she allowed herself to feel hope. The Valorous medical station smelled like antiseptic and hope. Rillian sat in the discharge office, reading through her final treatment report. After 3 months of therapy, surgery, and rehabilitation, her lower arms had regained partial function. They would never work perfectly. She would never be whole. But she could move them now. She could hold things. She could do more than she ever thought possible. The doctors called it a remarkable recovery. They said her determination had made the difference. Rillian knew better. Determination was only half of it. The other half was having something to be determined for. Her hover chair sat folded in the corner. She still needed it for long distances, but for short trips, she could walk now. Her legs were stronger than they had ever been. Not strong enough to run or dance, but strong enough to stand on her own. A knock came at the door. Rillian looked up to see Sergeant Reyes standing in the doorway. She was out of uniform, wearing simple civilian clothes. Behind her stood Ben, Delia, and Yusuf. "We heard you were getting discharged today," Reyes said. "Thought we would come say hello." Rillian's eyes filled with tears. She had not expected to see them again. The Steadfast had left 3 months ago, called away on another mission. She had sent messages, received responses, but she had assumed their paths would not cross again. "How?" she asked. Captain Lindgren pulled some strings, Ben said, grinning. "We were in the sector anyway. She gave us a few hours of leave." Delia rushed forward and hugged Rillian carefully. "You look amazing. Look at you, standing up and everything." Rillian laughed through her tears. "The doctors did good work." "The doctors helped," Yusuf said quietly. "You did the work." Reyes walked over and stood before Rillian. She studied her for a long moment, then nodded with satisfaction. "I told you that you were not broken," she said. Rillian reached out with her once paralyzed lower arms and took Reyes's hands. The grip was weak, shaky, but it was real. It was hers. "You did more than that," Rillian said. "You showed me what it means to be worth saving. I spent my whole life believing I was a burden. You showed me that I was wrong." Reyes squeezed her hands gently. "What will you do now?" Rillian had thought about this for months. During her recovery, she had plenty of time to think. She had watched the medical station operate, seen the patients who came and went. Many of them were like her, refugees from species that discarded the weak, travelers who had been injured or abandoned, people the galaxy had given up on. "The station needs communications specialists," Rillian said. "They offered me a position coordinating refugee transports. I would help identify and reach people who need medical care, people who have been overlooked, people like I was." Ben's eyes grew soft. "That sounds perfect." "It is a small job," Rillian said. "I cannot change the whole galaxy. I cannot make other species care about their vulnerable members. But I can help the ones who make it here. I can make sure they know someone sees them." Delia wiped her eyes. "You are going to make me cry." "You are already crying," Yusuf pointed out. "Shut up." They laughed together. It was warm and real, and everything Rillian had never known she was missing. Reyes pulled something from her pocket. A small coin, worn smooth by years of handling. She pressed it into Rillian's palm. "This is from Earth," she said. "Old currency. My grandmother gave it to me when I joined the service. She said it would remind me where I came from." She closed Rillian's fingers around it. "I want you to have it, to remind you that you have friends among the humans." Rillian held the coin tightly. "I cannot take this. It is precious to you. That is why I want you to have it." Reyes smiled. "Besides, I know where to find you now. If I ever want it back, I know where to look." They stayed for 2 hours. They shared food from the station cafeteria. They told stories about their missions over the past 3 months. They made Rillian promise to keep sending messages, to let them know how she was doing. When they finally left, Rillian stood at the window and watched the Steadfast undock. The ship moved away from the station, grew smaller, and then vanished into hyperspace. Gone, but not forgotten. She looked down at the Earth coin in her palm. Then she tucked it safely into her pocket, next to her grandmother's pendant. The next morning, Rillian reported for her first day of work. Her new office was small but functional. A communication console dominated one wall. Data screens showed incoming transport requests, refugee locations, medical emergencies across the sector. There was so much need. So many people waiting for help. The door opened. A station orderly entered, leading a small group of new arrivals. refugees from a recent conflict. Tired, frightened, uncertain. Among them was a young alien, barely more than a child. She had lost an arm in the fighting. She moved slowly, fearfully, expecting rejection at every turn. Her eyes were dull with the certainty that she would be discarded like garbage. Rillian knew that look. She had worn it herself for 8 years. She rose from her chair. Her legs trembled slightly, but they held. She walked toward the young alien, moving slowly so as not to frighten her. The child looked up. Her eyes widened when she saw Rillian's partially paralyzed arms, her unsteady gait. She was looking at someone who was damaged, someone who was still standing anyway. Rillian knelt down to meet the child's eyes. She smiled gently. "You are safe here," she said. "I know you are scared. I know the galaxy has been cruel to you. But this place is different. These people will help you." She reached out with her weak lower arm and took the child's remaining hand. "I will help you." The child stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, hesitantly, she squeezed back. Rillian thought of 4 human soldiers who had stopped for a stranger in a dark corridor, who had fought for someone they did not know, who had shown her that compassion was not weakness. She had been given a gift. Now it was her turn to pass it on. The cycle of kindness continued.